There's been a lot of interesting things happening in the US, specifically at the US Treasury with the DOGE efforts of Elon Musk and a number of others. What's your reaction to this?
Fantastic. Um, yeah, no, in summary, I think, it's long needed. I think budget deficits have been just growing and accumulating. Regulations and bureaucracy has just been layered on top of each other every single year, every single new administration. There's never an extraction of old laws. And ultimately, this is a good thing. It's cleaning up shop, really, and tightening up the budget again and trying to get back to normal household management and budget management, which is a good thing.
Well, so lay out for me what that actually means, right? Getting back to normal household management, how is it different?
So we at home, we all have to manage a budget, right? We cannot spend more than we have, or there are times where we can spend a bit more and extend our sort of habits. And there are times where we need to retract them and save a bit of on our, expenditures. And I think, the government hasn't done that. I think in a lot of the West, we've constantly expanded and there's never been a budget decline, a dropping of specific departments. There's only been growth, and especially in the government area, departments have grown, employees have grown, regulations have grown, legislation's grown, and the whole sort of institutions as such has also grown. And so when does it stop, and when does it start leveraging technology to really start improving efficiency and driving efficiency in terms of streamlining processes, using technology to minimize increase in labor, execution speeds? How do I increase that using technology? Standardization in terms of once you've submitted, I have an identity, it's already applicable on a permission basis across all the different government departments, et cetera, et cetera. So many angles.
So, when we were speaking offline, you said that you actually see a future where the US economy could grow quite a bit more
Yeah.
due to such efforts. But explain to me how that's connected.
So there are two elements there that I really highlight. One is efficiency, right? So having a a bill, a mandate, a budget that actually gets converted into infrastructural improvement so that the actual allocation of funds gets deployed and gets input into the economy, number one. And number two, the economy can reap the benefits of that new infrastructure in the marketplace thereafter. So that's one element. And then the other element is just the elimination of red tape. As new businesses evolve and start up, they don't necessarily always have all the resources needed with legal compliance, obligations that are set upon startups, let alone sort of small, medium businesses. How do we let them innovate? How do we let them build new products, drive new opportunities forward? And I think with a lot of red tape in place, it becomes extremely difficult, very expensive for new startups to really innovate. And I think that out of the way will allow entrepreneurs who already have an extremely difficult challenge to try and penetrate into new markets and disrupt existing industries. All of a sudden now they have the right to move, and they have one burden less on the list of challenges in front of them as they launch new businesses or even start new companies.
Makes me think of how there's a rule that for any new regulation that is to come in place, 10 must be cut. That's how Trump is rolling right now.
And I think that's the right way. I mean, I also think that we should have time limits on new rulings. So this new ruling should be in place for 5 years, and then we revisit after 5 years how it's going, what's the progress, what clauses do we have in here that are too many, what are too few, how do we adjust it and tweak it, and then put in place for the next 5 years a better, more improved, more time adjusted legislation. And so that's ultimately, I think, where ideally we go to. And that actually means, yeah, a lot of the governments are continuously optimizing and tweaking and improving their processes.
How do you understand kind of the reaction to these efforts at Treasury and also now at USAID?
Yeah, look, it's never nice, and as a founder and a CEO of a company, it's always challenging. You want to keep as many of the team members you possibly can, but you're always also looking to forward the business. And, reductions in headcount are never nice. It's always tough. And especially at big scales, right? And you look at, sort of Fortune 500 companies, when they have to cut, they cut 10,000, 20,000, 5% of their workforce. That's a significant impact. And now I think for the first time, a government is experiencing what that feels like. We have to offload this department. We have to shed this product unit. Those are all sort of decisions that leaders have to make when forced with financial limitations that are put upon them, either for not achieving revenue targets, for overexpending in specific areas, or not hitting the P&L targets that you wanted to hit. And for the first time, the budget deficit has just gone out of control, where the debt has been accumulated, nearly $40 trillion. I think it's so hard to even fathom the magnitude of $40 trillion. How big is that? I mean, nobody can even imagine what that means in scale.
Well, so let's talk about the company that you are the founder and CEO of, Truflation. And
Yeah.
so, of course, you look at inflation. This is your bread and butter. What is the connection between that $40 trillion debt and inflation?
So in the last 4 years, we've seen an aggregate inflation of about 26%. So that's a quarter of your purchasing power, phoosh, gone, just disappeared across the board. And what does that mean? That means that people that go to the grocery stores 10 times a month are witnessing every single day the increase in the price cost of eggs, in the cost of goods, in the gasoline at the gas pump. So people are beginning to experience that and are feeling that. And if you're hitting 25% thresholds over a 4-year period, that's a lot. And I think it hurts a lot of people. And also, you saw $11 trillion get printed in the last 4 years. That's a lot of new money coming into the market. Which debases the existing dollars in circulation. So whatever you held would just get lost in value. At the same time, that is solely related to consumer price index. Another element that people forget is asset price appreciation. We saw a very large increase in asset prices. So everything started to become a lot more expensive. That's why the stocks, the S&P 500 is now at an all-time high. Where are people putting that liquidity? Not in new roads, not in new trains, not in better infrastructure, updating the IT systems available. Instead, we're buying S&P 500, we're buying gold, we're buying Bitcoin, we're buying all these other assets in order to hide and store value, which we couldn't find in the dollar.
Well, so you started talking about my next question, because this is actually somewhat of a debate. Where does inflation actually come from? Give me the picture.
So it really comes from overspending, right? So I've overspent. How do I overspend? I need to print more money to keep up my spending habits. And so in order to print more money, I drive up, I debase the existing value of amount of dollars in circulation. And so now, ultimately, $11 trillion of new printing to feed the budget deficit over the last 4 years has resulted in a significant increase in money supply, which ultimately means cost of goods go up in order to make up for that new supply and the assets that have been appreciated over time.
So the bottom line is balancing the budget solves the problem. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because money is not free. The new money that gets printed comes at a cost, at 5% interest. in order to hold inflation down. And so that 11 trillion costs more money. So I'm spending more, but I'm actually paying more for that additional spending. It's like your credit card bills. When you spend more money at home, you need more money in order to pay off the credit card bill or the debt that's accumulated on the credit card bill. And it's not just the income to cover your day-to-day costs, but it's the income to cover your day-to-day costs and the interest on the excess expenditure that you've been exercising on that credit card.
As all of this cost cutting starts happening, starting in the Treasury, going at department after department, that actually kind of reduces the size of the economy initially, doesn't it?
The cutting of expenditure reduces the size of the budget deficit and ultimately puts new people out of work, which means that they will have less spending power because they don't have an income. However, I don't think they're out of work. I think they're given a nice package to give them enough time to find new jobs. I don't know the details associated with that, but I'm a big believer in leaning in. I think there will be a whole new set of jobs that will come up over the next year or two, despite AI and everybody's looking at other technologies that are coming there that are going to increase productivity. But there will be a whole new set of infrastructure that's going to be deployed. And one thing we know and what we've learned over the last centuries is that every new revolution brings out new types of jobs that we never thought of 5 years ago or 10 years ago.